I would like to now call our next speaker, and whatever plan that we have discussed so far, he will be the best person to guide you in terms of how to execute that. How many of you know BNI? And how many of you know LinkedIn? So what you may not know, so our next speaker, Neeraj Shah, is a LinkedIn expert. I'm sure many of you would have seen him on LinkedIn, talking about AI, talking about various LinkedIn strategies, generating actual leads, results, rather than just posting. AI strategist and business growth mentor. With over 2 decades of experience, he has helped entrepreneurs elevate their income, influence, and impact by combining business networking with practical implementation-ready systems. He is author of upcoming book, LinkedIn Growth Code, to be published in early 2026. As a recognized global mentor and founder of Titan AI, Neeraj equips business owners to scale with clarity, AI, and consistent lead flow. So let's put our hand together to welcome Neeraj.
Okay, good afternoon to you everyone. How are you all? Fabulous. How many of you are currently on LinkedIn? Quick show of hands. Okay, awesome. How many of you can't remember your password? Okay, so thank you for being honest. And how many of you are not going to put up your hand no matter what I say? Managed to get someone. Okay, finally. So good. Good. Okay, so 90% of my business comes from LinkedIn, but I'll be frank with you. Starting 5 years ago, I was pretty much starting out from scratch. Because BNI had grown massively, I had a lot of people send me connection requests, which I went ahead and accepted, not knowing who they are. And I said, okay, networking offline and online is equally important. I think it's really in COVID, when the lockdowns happened, I said, okay, if people are not able to network offline, then they will need to turn to online networking. And I couldn't think of a better place to get started than LinkedIn. So since then, I've been able to grow from about 6,000 followers to close to, it's just over 31,000 followers now that I have. Okay, so I want to share with you some key things that will help you generate more high-paying customers from LinkedIn. How many of you would like that? Quick show of hands. Okay, awesome. So good. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Okay, so now, unfortunately, you might be out there, you're doing an amazing job, but unfortunately, only a few people know about that. They don't understand maybe what you do. Okay? So how is it that you go about changing that? I want to take you through that. So if you are having to rely on referrals, if you're thinking, okay, how do I position myself as an expert? How do I generate more of the right kind of people to work with? Then I'll be taking you through that. Can we go to the next slide? Awesome. Okay. Now, LinkedIn. Do you know how many people are on LinkedIn? Take a guess. Yeah, someone there? Yeah, over 1.2 billion users. Out of that, how many are from India? Any guess? Okay, 100 million people on LinkedIn are from India. So we're absolutely in the right place. India is one of the fastest growing places for LinkedIn, okay? However, most people don't know some of the other stats that are there. About 65 million people on LinkedIn are serious decision makers. That means that they've got a serious budget which they want to spend. Maybe they should be spending that with you. So how do we make sure that you become one of those particular people? And if you look at trust, trust is at an all-time low. Why? Because of AI, right? There's so much AI slop out there, and you can now practically clone anyone and everyone. So, trust is going down. However, LinkedIn is one of the highest rated as far as trust goes. So if you have a good profile set up on LinkedIn and you know how to use LinkedIn, then it will give you an edge. So I want to take you through how you can do that. If we can go to the next slide. So like how you redesign people's lives, starting with their identity, okay, we need to do the same thing as far as LinkedIn goes. Now, most people tend to look at LinkedIn as a place to get a job, right? So they have thought about it like the resume style LinkedIn that it was, but it's no longer of that nature. You need to now turn that profile into a sales page, and I'm going to be taking you through how to do that. Yeah. So the first thing, and this, I think Rakesh had gone into this the other day, want to become a specialist. One of the key things that is going to help you stand out, otherwise, if you just say, I'm a trainer, there are literally thousands of trainers on LinkedIn. If you say you're an image consultant, because of the incredible work that Rakesh and Zuman have done, there are thousands of people who've graduated through the program, okay? So you are then competing against those people. Not only that, people also don't quite understand what image consulting is all about, okay? So on top of that, you have to deal with how do you get that across. So instead, what you want to do is you want to be that goldfish. You can see all the other fish are black, they're blending in, but the goldfish really stands out. And how can you stand out? By deciding to focus on a particular micro niche. So the first thing I want to give you is a specific framework. How can you really begin to stand out? If you look at the top here, the first is who do you want to serve? It all starts with that, because if you say deal with tech executives, okay, who've reached a certain position, then their needs are very different from someone who's a mid-level or a junior person, okay? So the first is you've got to get very clear about who your ideal future customer is, your prospect, your avatar, okay? Once you are clear about that one person, then you want to identify what is the one key problem that they have. And I want you to write this down maybe. You want the problem to be painful, urgent, and relevant. Those are the three very specific things that you want, because it's only painful, urgent, relevant problems that move people to spend money. So therefore, you must know how to package your solution in that particular way, where your solution is so elegantly and effectively able to solve that problem. Once you have that, you need to get very clear about the transformation, because people pay for transformations. See, in this, because of AI, information is available at tap. You can ask ChatGPT to be your image consultant, right? I mean, everything is available on tap. However, they don't have your experience. They don't have all the things that you've lived, your success stories, how you've helped other customers, the deep nuances, the insights, right? So you need to know what are those key results that you've helped people achieve, because those are the results that people really want, okay? So if you know these specific things, the one avatar, the one problem, the one solution, and the one outcome, the most important outcome that you are able to deliver, then you immediately can package yourself in the right way. You will be able to that you want, because it's only painful, urgent, relevant problems that move people to spend money. So there are 3 very specific ways in which you want to do that. The first starts with your profile. How do you need to optimize that profile? The second is you need to get very clear about how you put together the content, okay? And the last part is, it is a network. In fact, LinkedIn is the #1 business network in the world, okay? So you need to know how to strategically network. So I've learned a few things about networking because of my experience, and I'm able to do it both online and offline. So I'm going to take you through some of those secrets. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so first things first. Instead of setting up your profile like a resume, you want to set it up as a sales page. Imagine your ideal future client coming to that particular page and thinking, wow, I need this person. Where was this person? How come I didn't know about this person earlier? Okay, so it all starts with your photo. And of course, as image consultants, you understand the power of the photo and getting it right. So I'm going to just say that AI can help with that. There is a particular AI tool that we suggest. It's called Snapper Photo Analyzer. We need to have something called a CTA. What's a CTA? Call to action. What do you want them to do next? And you need to have some sort of trigger word. If you go to my banner, you will see the word blueprint. And if I get a message with the word blueprint, I know that that person has been to my LinkedIn profile, because there's no other trigger word from that, okay? So does this make sense? Yeah? Okay, awesome. See, when we typically are at a networking event, okay, the most common question you get asked is, what do you do? How you answer that particular question is going to determine whether you walk out of that networking event with some good leads or not, okay? So in BNI, we used to teach this a lot. This was like one of the core skills that we used to teach, okay? Now, the same thing, your elevator pitch, can be put on your banner. So if you see there, instead of saying, I'm the founder or the principal consultant at this company, yeah, that means nothing. But if you say, I help this specific audience, because remember, we're focusing on that one specific audience, so who are they? Then what specific result do you help them achieve? If you're able to specify the result, if it is something measurable, if you have a number there, then it becomes even better. It stands out. And then, what is your method? Give some sort of signature name to that particular method, okay? And you immediately begin to stand out. Okay. Lastly, we come to the about section, which is a little bit lower. Now, it is very important, especially if someone is looking to work with you, they're going to read that about section. Otherwise, most people will not go down to the about section. But if they're looking to work with you, they will read your about section. Now, your about section, if it's written as a story in the problem, agitate, solution framework, that is what makes the whole thing so interesting, okay? And this is where you're able to put in your experience and expertise and be able to stand out, okay? So here, the problem, what is the primary #1 problem that you help people deal with? Then, you agitate that problem to say that, okay, if this problem continues, what is the negative impact it is going to have on that person's business, career, life, relationships, health? Okay? So all of those things, if they're clear, then people begin to understand, like, wow, this person understands what I'm going through. You're able to build that empathy, and it gets them ready to get your solution. So then how are you able to solve that? So we have covered how to optimize your profile. Okay. Next, let's talk about content. How many of you create content? Okay, awesome. Now, if you are used to creating content for Instagram, LinkedIn is a little bit different. Okay, so let me take you through some of the nuances of what's different so that you can have horses for courses. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, so I want you, the next slide, take a photo of it. Okay, because essentially it's your content strategy in one slide. Okay, so with so much AI slop coming and people just using ChatGPT all the time, and in fact most of them, I teach people how to use AI, they don't know how to use AI properly. Okay, but unfortunately the thing is being flooded, the platform is being flooded by this AI slop. You need to document your expertise, your experience. Okay, that is where you need to create 60% of your content, and I'll break that down into 5 key content pillars that you can do in a moment. Okay, this is where you're able to build trust, but try and focus on one key problem at a time. Don't try and do too many things at the same time, because we're not able to then consume so much. So focus on that one thing. Next, you want to mix it with personal stories. LinkedIn is no longer that very stuffy corporate platform that it used to be. Okay, it's loosened up quite a bit, and some of my best performing posts are personal stories. So you want to talk about your personal stories in a way which connects and is relevant to your target market. Okay, so what are some key lessons? And it humanizes you. I've had many people come up to me at conferences purely because of the personal stories that they remember. You know, they will tell you that stories sell, but not only stories sell, stories make you memorable. Okay, so you want to be remembered, and one of the ways in which you can do that is through that. Okay, and lastly, I see many people do the first 2 very well, but then they never sell. Or I see other people who sell too often. Okay, you want to sell maybe 10% of the time. Okay, so these are some key things. Now let's go in to how there are 5 key content pillars as an image professional. Image you can look at. Okay, so the first, you can talk about transformations, because people love transformation stories. Okay, so what was the kind of before and after? If you have those particular photos, that's why anyone who's doing kind of weight loss, they always use the before and after photos, because those are the transformations. So if you're starting out new, it can be your transformation. Yeah, if you already have amazing client testimonials and people who've said yes, I don't mind being a case study for you, then you're able to share those. Okay, next, expert tips. What are some of the key things that would be relevant to your target market? What are some of the key problems? Lead with the problems. Then talk about your solutions. Okay, because when people are facing a problem, they're more aware about it, they're trying to look for solutions. If they hear someone mentioning that problem, you immediately stand out. Then you, as the post goes on, talk about what the solution is. Another thing is industry insights. There are some key words around which LinkedIn has regular posts. So something, remote work, a lot of people are talking about it. Yeah, a lot of people have gone back to work. Okay, so that's a hot topic. Leadership, it's a hot topic. Toxic boxes, that's a hot topic. So if you've had any experience with any of those, okay, if you talk about them and you put your point of view, okay, then again this will stand out. Okay, client success stories, nothing like case studies rather than testimonials, because most people actually don't know how to give a good testimonial that will help you get business. They will just say, oh, this person was very good, but that's actually not going to help you get more business, whereas a case study will. The typical style is the Harvard Business School's case study, which you give context about who this person is, the company. Next, what problem they faced. Next, what did you recommend? And finally, what were the results that they were able to accomplish. And if you're able to give specifics, measurables, then this is what will stand out. And lastly, mix them up with your personal stories. People want to know you're a human being. We all connect. First of all, it's an H2H platform, human to human. Okay? Okay. Next, please. Okay. So, how you start the post is the most important thing which will determine whether anyone continues to read the post or not. There are 4 there that make sense. Okay? A controversial statement. Okay? Most executive presence training doesn't work. Here's why. So suddenly it's like, oh, it doesn't work. Then why do people do them? So immediately gets people's attention. Then contrarian take, forget dress for success. Dress to influence. So all of you will understand that. Okay? But your typical target market won't know about that. So it's like, oh, I'm getting an insider view on this. This is changing my perception about this. Then the other one that works very well, negative statements. The single mistake that's killing your credibility in meetings. No one likes to make mistakes. People would rather learn from someone else's mistakes, not make them. So help them. And then lastly, a shocking fact. So anything with a particular number, which, and this is something which is very important for you, I want to stress upon that. It is a true fact, okay? 99% of the users on LinkedIn do not create content. That means that 1% that is creating content regularly are the ones getting all the views. So compared to a lot of the other platforms, the organic reach and your ability to stand out on LinkedIn actually is much more than it would be for Instagram or Facebook. And also people come specifically for work to LinkedIn. Okay? So they come there for a different reason, which predisposes them to actually want to find solutions. They are looking for solutions. Okay, if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so what have we covered so far? We've helped you optimize your profile. We've given you some clear content strategy. Okay, now let's move on to the last part, because if you don't have the last part, you're not going to be able to monetize. Okay, so yeah, strategic networking. So how do we help you network? Yeah, go ahead. I want to, okay, can we, we're going to have questions later. I've done a separate session because I know time is short, okay? So let's talk about strategically networking, okay? So if you're using LinkedIn on your phone, there's a little search bar at the top, okay? So you need to know how to use it to find the right people, okay? So there are a couple of different filters that can be used, okay? The first filter that you need to use is what would be the job title of that particular person who is your ideal target market. Is it a CHRO? Is it an L&D head? Is it going to be a CXO? If it's a CXO, then what kind of CXO? You know, because you need to start with that first, the title. Next, you need to start with industry. If, say, for example, you already have experience with BFSI, you are from BFSI, you're an ex-banker, then you should connect with more people from banking, because that becomes something easy. It's a conversation starter. My wife's a banker, ex-banker, so like the other day someone had come from a particular bank and they were able to immediately hit it off. So I think the first 10 minutes went into their previous bosses, because she knew her boss really well, and they were talking about that. So now we were making some sort of investment decision, and so like this kind of checked the boxes for her, which is good. So all of these sorts of things are very important. Okay, so title, then industry, and then location. And you should, if you work across the country, then you should build these lists up one city at a time. So say you work across 5 key cities, and you want to build these lists in a way where you have a Mumbai list, you have a Hyderabad list, you have a Delhi list, etc. So you're being very strategic in how you're bifurcating this particular network. Okay? Because if you know they're a particular title, they're in a particular industry, and they're in a particular location, then all of that can help you start the right conversations. Is this making sense? Okay, so if we can go to the next part. So once you found them, okay, and typically the free version of LinkedIn will only give you limited searches, okay, because they want everyone to go for the paid version. The one that I would recommend is the business premium, okay. That is really good, and you get like very high search limits on that. Plus, you're able to see who's visited your profile for the last 90 days. Now that is very important. If someone visits your profile multiple times, okay, in the 90 days, that means they're seriously considering you. So you should reach out to them, definitely. Because B2B users do their research on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the places where they do their research. So if someone is multiple times visiting your profile, that's a buying signal. Okay. Now, send a personalized connection request. I was searching for CEOs in Mumbai from banking. Your name came up. Give a compliment. Really impressed by the profile. I thought I'd connect to you. Flattery does get you places. Now don't go over the top, but you want to do that. Okay. Next, you want to offer help. Typically, if it's a CEO, are they having to make board level presentations? Would they like to become a better presenter? You can bring that up, saying, as a CEO, do you make many presentations? Do you have to make many presentations? Yeah, okay, I've worked with many CEOs, and I put together a little cheat sheet of 10 key points that will actually help you become a more impactful presenter. Would you like a copy of it? No worries if you're swamped. It's conversational. It's helpful. Oh yeah, I'd like that. So then, they're raising their hand, okay? Then step 3, you can qualify that. When's your next big presentation coming along? How would you like to really wow the investors or wow the board? Have you considered, coaching? So can you see how this is leading? I was just working with this other banking CEO, and we were able to do this amazing thing with him. He's actually now been promoted. Now he's the global head of the company. So if you share a case study like that, then immediately people, wow, he or she has helped people like me. This is the outcome I want. Yes, at least let me give my time of day to this person. Okay? And then, of course, you want to invite them for a call, a consultation. And then one of the key things that is very important, fortune is in the follow-up. You can't just leave it there. Okay? You have to nurture them in a particular way. Okay? So can we go to the last? Yeah. Okay. So let's sum it up. Don't be the generalist, be the specialist so that you can stand out. Number 2, optimize your profile. Don't make it a resume, make it a sales page which speaks to your ideal future customer. Number 3, make sure you have content that builds your authority, the 60-30-10. And finally, instead of randomly connecting with people, strategically network, and I have a system for that. If you spend between 15 to 20 minutes a day doing this, okay, you can begin to find that LinkedIn will become your number 1 source of business. You won't have to rely on word of mouth. You will be able to get incredible clients. Rakesh was there at a session that I had just on Saturday. More than 60% of the people had come from LinkedIn, and they were meeting me for the first time, and many of them said to me, we've been following you for so many years. They could actually tell me, I discovered you at this time. I remember this specific story about you. There is a sense of community, and I believe that here you're all about community, which is very different, I find, on LinkedIn compared to on Instagram or Facebook. People are a lot more professional, people are a lot more friendlier, and people are helpful. So in this way, you can stand out, and your expertise will get the spotlight it deserves. Thank you very much.